further discussion? No. Hope? Yes. Julia? Yes. Mark?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
And Kate. Motion passes. Hope? Yes. Julia?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Just making sure.
I didn't know I would do that. Okay.
Good. Okay, on to G, appoint the superintendent to represent the school district for all federal and state programs for the 2025-2026 school year, not otherwise designated by the board policy or action.
I'll make a motion to appoint the superintendent to represent the school district for all federal and state programs for the 2025-2026 school year, not otherwise designated in board policy or action.
I'll second.
Julia,
Yes.
any discussion? Sorry.
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Bobby, yes, Hope, yes, motion passes. Okay, on to H. Approve safety and security plan for the 2025-2026.
I want to thank Lisa Blackwood for the work on that. It's some of the behind the scenes work that happens and nobody realizes who's doing it.
Do we have a motion?
I can make a motion to approve the safety and security plan for 2025 to 2026.
A second.
Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take it to vote. Mark,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Bobby, yes, Hope, yes, Julia.
Yes.
Motion carries. I appoint Lisa Blecka, the 2025-2026 administrative designee as provided by the I believe Lisa has held this position for,
Who did?
Lisa
He
has,
has.
at least the last couple of years that I know of. Correct.
Yeah, I believe it's been, let's see, it's been 3 or 4 years prior to that, June years that the remaining practice. No.
Gotcha.
I imagine she's still okay with doing it.
Again, the flexibility of her schedule provides her probably the greatest opportunity to respond to situations in that case.
Sure.
So basically, it's just kind of, she's like the next in command if,
Yeah, if we happen to both, which we try to make an effort, so that's never the case, but if we happen to both be out of the district or
Right.
something, then we still would be the person that would respond.
Okay.
Or most of the crisis or safety and security, we have that chain of command laid out, but in the case there's an event that it isn't, then that would put her in the next go-to person, yeah, accountability role.
Just need a motion. I'll make a motion to appoint Lisa Blecka, the 25-26 administrative designee as provided for by board policy for 005.
I'll second it. Motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
no.
Take it to vote. Hannah,
Yes.
Bobby, yes, Hope, yes, Julia,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
motion passes. The last one, J, for the consent agenda. Renew the district's membership with the Nebraska Rural Community Schools Association for 2025-2026 for $850.
I'll make a motion to renew the district's membership in the Nebraska Rural Community Schools Association, NERCSA, for 2025-2026 for $850.
I'll second.
You got it.
Any discussion?
Is that what it was, prior? Is it just a,
I don't
was it
know.
going up or down? No.
I don't know that it happens.
There's- Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Any further discussion? Take it to vote. Bobby, yes. Hope, yeah. Julia,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Hannah.
Yes.
Motion carries. At this time, we'll go on to public comment. I'll open the floor to the public for comment. As per board policy, we will allow up to 5 minutes per speaker with maximum total allotted time for public comment not to exceed 30 minutes. We have none. So we will go on to employment.
And fortunately, we have no resignations at this time from certified staff, so we can move on to the next side. That's good. That's good news.
So informational reports, Lisa's not here, so Derek, are you good? Mr. Nice. Sorry.
Hello. All right, so I just have a few bullet points here. There's not a lot to report on at this point in the year. I just wanted to update you on some things that we're working on now. So as you know, we have a new computers teacher this year in the middle school, high school. Laura Straley has taken over that position. That's been a position where we've seen a lot of opportunity in the past, but we kind of struggled to find some traction. And already this summer, we've made a lot of progress. So we reviewed the entire curriculum for 6th grade up and feel like we have good plans in place. I think the changes that we made to the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes will make it not only a more engaging class, but I think this will provide students with a greater chance to scaffold their skills as they continue to get older. And then there's been some really good changes to the coding offerings and high school offerings that we've got to. One priority that we're going to focus a lot of intentional energy on this year is the digital media class. We created that 2 years ago with part of the goal being to establish a broadcasting group of students through that class using our Huddle TV and other platforms. There's production truck software that goes with that, so you can really access a lot of features. And we've seen some schools take advantage of this. We've struggled to get enough students in the class to get a good consistent group going and present at events. This year, we have a staff member in place that I think has a desire to make that happen, and we've got I think a good enrollment on those rosters. So I'm excited to see what happens with that. One new thing that we're going to offer this year is exploratory Spanish to our 7th graders. We're always looking for opportunities to see how we can grow or make our offerings a little bit more diverse. And since we don't offer any foreign language until high school level with our Spanish 1 at sophomore and Spanish 2 classes junior, we found this to be a good opportunity with the junior high kids. We were making a change anyway with 6th and 7th graders and trying to provide a structured study skills opportunity within each day instead of just a study hall without guidance. So this fits in a rotation basis, so they'll get this exploratory Spanish class 2 days a week. We're going to use a curriculum provider that will Zoom in live once a month, and then Laura Bloss will teach this class on the other days. She has taught Spanish before. I found out this year, had no idea. Yeah, so she's actually really excited about that. Yeah. So that's one of those things you always think as an adult, like maybe I should go sit in and try to learn. 100%. Yeah. But I'm excited about that option. And then MTSS updates, I feel like there's always something we're working on to report in that. So I just kind of the next natural step. I reported last time that a group of us went to data retreat and we found it to be a pretty productive time and we made some progress there. After that, specifically Mrs. Pierce and Mrs. A have continued to kind of work on those details from that time. And so they've continued to work on our tier 2 interventions and how we're going to organize those this year. They've continued to work on how we can structure our new intervention time in the middle school, high school, and how we can work between buildings to make sure that our system's consistent from one to the next. So we continue to make progress in that area, and those two people are specifically a big part of that. So if you ever cross paths with them, give them a shout out because they deserve it. Activity related, nothing major, just small things to note. I met again with the new concession managers this year. So Shannon Volchek and Jane Osborne are going to be the co-concession managers this year. And we've seen that kind of ebb and flow since we started doing the concession stand this way. Last year, I approached some staff members that I thought had interest. And Shannon kind of stuck out because her and I both wanted to maybe take a fresh approach or an open mind to what we're offering. And so this summer we've taken a step back, and with the help of April, we've looked at all the vendor options that are available to us to try to see if there's something we can do differently. We think that we're going to be able to work with a single supplier now instead of having to make multiple Sam's purchases like we were doing before. It fortunately worked out. We usually had a staff member in Lincoln that could pick things up, but that's not necessarily something you want to rely on, and it makes extra work for staff when they don't necessarily need to have that extra responsibility. So it looks at this point like we're going to work with Cashway Distributing, and they'll be able to provide all of our concession items. We are going to make some changes to the menu, which hopefully won't upset anybody, but I think some of the changes are needed. And hopefully some of these offerings will be kind of exciting. We had that roller grill that we started practicing with last year, just for the items we already had. This year, we're going to be able to add some new items with that, and also an air fryer. So trying to keep some options that are desirable for kids and adults is kind of a challenge because we all know what the kids want. But so anyway, I'm excited about that. Just wanted to at least fill you in that there's some changes on the way. Gym banners, we updated the conference banners in the gym last year. They're all vinyl, but the conference banners were getting pretty old. Some of the white ones were no longer white all the way, and they were starting to curl. Yeah, so and then we did have changes with some of the schools, their mascot that they've used since we purchased those banners. Some of them use different mascots, and we've had schools like Tri-County Leave and Friend change to EMF, and so it was time to update them. So as part of that, Mr. Rodinghouse and I plan to update the black banners that have the achievements listed on them. There are some inaccuracies I found on them, and then they've also not been updated regularly. And so we began working on that. And then one of the strategic plan committees in their reports to us, we found out they had that on their list of to-do items too. So started working with that committee on that. And we've got blank banners ordered. We're able to produce all the numbers now with our new equipment here. So we'll be able to put the information on the banners ourselves. I probably won't be ready for the beginning of the school year, but if things go well, they would be ready and up for winter sports season. And then just some last thing I wanted to mention. I'm sure all of you know Linda Hodges passing, but as soon as she was on hospice, she decided that she wanted to donate her golf clubs to the school for kids to use. So one day I showed up to school and there were like 15 sets of golf clubs inside the front door. There was a lot. So fortunately we had some Pawnee City golf bags that haven't been used in quite a while. Most of the kids use their own now. And so we went through all the sets. There were some that had partial sets or a missing club here or there or whatever. So we pieced together sets to put in the Pawnee City golf bags, and we'll have those in storage for when kids want to golf but don't have golf clubs. And then I heard from one of their family members just yesterday that they have more golf clubs. So it's a great problem to have. We're not going to have enough space for yeah, but obviously that's nice of Linda to be so thoughtful about the kids and know how much her and Ron golfed over the years. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that to you guys. Awesome. Yeah. Any
She
questions?
taught a lot of our previous golfers, like
Really?
she's who actually taught them how
Really?
to golf. Several of them.
That was before
Hi, great.
my time.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. I know she taught Kellen Hobbiger. She taught my son. I think Reese Fisher Ramey. I'm not positive about that one.
That's pretty neat. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Okay, we've got some information to share with you. Some of it is, a lot of it is good. Some of it is maybe not so good. So the 21st century grant that we were looking at is it really in limbo at this time. The Nebraska State Board of Education approved us to receive it. The problem is the money's not there. And I don't know if the money's going to be there because I do believe that a part of this funding was what was cut in the new bill, the new budget bill at the federal level. And so this is federal funds that would be paying for it. So right now that's where that is. And this is just a little bit of information here about some of those items that were cut in 1.33 billion in 21st century community learning centers. I don't know if that's the entire budget of what was going to be awarded for the coming year. I don't know if that's part of it. I know I called and talked with the Nebraska Department of Education representative who kind of oversees this. He didn't know and seemed very unsure of anything other than the state board did approve it. So we don't know if we're going to be getting that grant. And so that was the grant that was tied to an after-school program or a potential after-school program. I do believe that in addition to the grant, even though there's not a requirement for matching funds, to make something like that go, it's going to cost more than what the grant money would be. And so that kind of brings up another question. And I'm concerned about if we do find out, and I hope we do, that we have that grant available, there's going to be a lot of details and a lot of commitment on the part of the board to move forward with it. And the hiring of people to make it happen. And there's a lot of questions. I have a Zoom meeting tomorrow where I'm going to learn some more about it, about administering that if we get the grant. So for example, one of the questions I have is, so we do have grant money that will be funding part of this. There will be additional cost. Is it okay to charge families a small fee to help take care of that? And I don't know the answer to that question. So I hope to have some of those answers tomorrow. But I just wanted to share with you where that grant is at this time. It's kind of in limbo, and they don't even know at the State Department what the status is on that grant.
If I remember too, when we were talking about it, you had to have like a certain amount of kids that were going to utilize it in order to even.
Yes.
It was a pretty big number.
Yes. It was a pretty big number. And I know that there's a lot of procedures with this. Axtell has run an after-school program, gosh, for 4 or 5 years. And so I know a little bit of some of the challenges. I hear more of the challenges than I hear the benefits. But I know that they went through a number of things. One of the challenges is when you've hired somebody to work until 6 p.m. and then something happens with a parent at work, and so they're hung up at work. They can't come get their child, and then you're there until whenever they can come and get them. So there's some challenges with it, but I think that there's some real positives, especially in our community right now with some of the focus on childcare. There's a lot of motivation to try to do something in this area. So okay, moving on, just congratulations. The work that was done last year resulted in Pawnee City being accredited for this year. So that is a good thing. There's a lot of things that happen in education that we just take for granted that they're going to be there. They're never a problem until they are. So if there would be a hiccup along the way, then it's going to be serious about not being accredited. We kind of just take it for granted. Some good news with NPERS is that what they are taking from employees and their paychecks and what they're taking from the district is going down. So they had been charging 9.75% for the employee and 9.85% for the employer. We were in this next level, 8.75 and 8.84. And it doesn't amount to a whole lot of money. It's somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000, I think, for the district. But you feel it a lot worse when it goes the other way. And so I was pleased when I first saw this information. I was afraid that it was going to cost us additional money. Enrollment, and I kind of downsized this a little bit. I didn't know how specific you wanted to get by grade levels. I know I'm familiar with when you get into individual digits, and so some of the classes, when you look at male and female, get into individual digits, it starts to get to be where you can almost identify the kiddos, and so that's just one of the reasons I did not include by grade level. I can if you want to in the future. We're at 243 total. I would anticipate picking up a few students as we move forward. Derek, has that been your experience?
One more today.
One more today, and then we have an official day for enrollment of new students coming up.
Yeah, so we can stop new student enrollment, it's scheduled for one day. And the reality is, you don't usually see a lot of families on that day. It's usually closer to the beginning of school.
Yeah.
Especially that last 2 weeks leading up to school. That's typically when we see a lot of families come into the office and wanting to enroll their students, so. Yeah, we still set the day aside, so it's communicated in the paper and on our website, so people know, like, they want to come in, they know the principal, the office staff, the guidance counselor will all be there that day to answer questions, but really the enrollment process doesn't require all that. It's just nice.
Not turn anybody away because they weren't here on that day.
Right, we don't do that.
Few other things, the extractor, our extractor is in need of repairs that, in my opinion, you put your money into a new extractor. And so that's what I've asked Mr. Lytle to go ahead and arrange, is a new extractor, approximately $5,000 for a new extractor. And Derek brought this up, and I appreciate that. He asked me about thermostats for the heat in the high school building, and my thought was surely that was included as part of the bid. And I checked with Greg, the mechanical engineer, and it was not. And so there is a bid out there, and so you kind of followed up with that, Derek, right? That they're going to move forward with getting those repaired so they're functional.
Yes, yeah, so that was Ben Reynolds, who's been here before and worked on our system prior to this, and he's fixed problems in rooms that we know about. However, because we haven't relied on that historically, every time we turn it on, there's new since responding. So this is more so for an audit of that and repair already anything that would prevent them from functioning when we fire them up.
Thank you. And I asked Derek to update us a little bit on the locker room progress. I know that you've been waiting on bids and waiting to move forward. Do you mind updating us on that too?
Are you guys want to very okay?
I'm fine with you.
Fine.
So the locker room project started as a response to this repair, and then we realized, well, if we're going to make some change, we should really be thoughtful about how we're doing and make sure that we're doing this equally for both locker rooms too. So that kind of escalated the project into something that was a little bit more costly, so would need board involvement. What we've done so far in the boys' locker room, we were at last year, we were at the end of the year before that, just not to my knowledge, we were down to only 3 functioning showers. So I started noticing when I was noticing kids like leaving school after conditioning in the morning, or after if they had morning football and they were driving home to shower and come back, and so there were only 3 functioning showers. I asked Doug to come check it out because our locker rooms have been unchanged for a long time, but they had replaced those pedestal tower showers, whatever they're called. You've all seen what that's like. They replaced them with exactly the same thing. Not what I would have done, but so they replaced the towers. But now we were at a point where we're going to have to order parts to replace the ones that weren't functioning. So 3 out of the 8 weren't functioning, and Doug couldn't get parts. And so we had him look around to see what other options there were, and we're really running into a brick wall. So I I asked him about, cheap options for replacing those. And we found out that we're gonna purchase new towers. It was gonna be pretty costly. Those are stainless steel, they're custom fabricated, so it's substantial. But we did find out we could replumb the showers on the exterior of the wall with copper piping and make a manifold so we could run individual showers across. And so that was actually the cheapest option. And so we put 5 showers in, 6 showers in, made sure there was one with handicap accessibility or space. But we didn't do anything else at the time because that was the response to the disrepair. And that was, I think, around $2009 worth. So then we started realizing, well, if we're going to have these individual showers, and what the kids are seeing in a lot of the other schools would be stalls. And so we wanted to investigate what we should do. We found out that to put stalls in was probably going to be around $5,000 per locker room. Those weren't cheap. Even the hanging curtains, it was less, but I would knowing high school students, I would anticipate, especially boys, would anticipate some problems with those and maintaining those over time. So we have not done any more. Now, what we would like to do and get an official proposal to you would be to consider adding stalls in each of the boys and the girls locker room and redoing the showers in the girls locker room to actually match the boys. There is one last part of this that was unexpected when we did the repair to the boys. There was a plumbing vent pipe that went up through the tower that we didn't know and Doug didn't know. Can't get rid of it. So there's kind of 2 options. We could cut into the concrete floor and reroute that up a wall and vent it out, which is expensive. Or we could try to have some sort of metal support fabricated to go around that, so it's stable and secure, even if there's a way that jumps on it or something. I keep saying ways, but listen. So, if there is a way that jumps on it and it would be solid and secure, it wouldn't cause any damage to the plumbing. So I've asked Ben Robinson to look at it and get information, and Doug's kind of helping work with him to make sure we get it right. And I talked to Doug a few days ago, and he said that they were still working on it, but they were running into trouble getting material that was the right size. So the reason we don't have something official for you yet is because we're waiting on the information. But just a heads up, that's the situation now. So I'm sure there's stuff I didn't cover there. Do you guys have any questions about that, how it came about, or what we're doing now?
If we would do individual stalls, like how many are you guys thinking?
There's 6 hits.
It's 1 for each, yeah.
So 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we put the ADA stall on the end, so it's lower, and then it would be slightly larger, so it'll make space. We'd still use the floor drains with the tower showers. That's the benefit of leaving the vents, having vent fabricate something, is those 2 common floor drains, but still be where all the water drains, so we don't have to redo
Any flooring.
Yeah. So that's a real plus in my mind. That saves a lot of money.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek. The world of locker rooms has really changed over the last 20 years for lots of different reasons. A few other things to just update the board. We've hired RJ Hickey as the high school custodian. Moving forward, he'll be starting here fairly soon. And Coral Cumley is going to be starting as the part-time fitness center custodian. That's at 2 hours. And so we have attempted to reduce the number of hours that we were having worked between those 2 positions. And so the position that Coral is going to do had also been taking care of the ag building, and we're going to see if RJ can take care of that. And so we're trying to reduce some of the hours with those positions moving forward. Just update on my schedule. July 17th is a new superintendent workshop. I'm not so sure that shouldn't have been July 1. So anyway, it'll be good to go. And I think they're going to touch a lot on the budget. I've been looking at some budgeting information. And so hopefully I'll have a little bit of a frame of reference for the Nebraska budgeting process moving forward. But that'll be good. Administrator days, July 23rd through the 25th. I haven't been to those since 1998, I believe, was the last time I was a Nebraska administrator. just something that I wanted to share with the board and the public. We are adjusting the start time for the buildings. The high school had really worked pretty extensively on that with their master schedule and some of the changes that they were making. And so we made the decision as with the elementary building to go ahead and match that schedule. And so we are planning on an 8:05 start instead of 8:10. And then we are going to ask teachers, and I'm sure that this really wasn't a problem in the past, but to have a time when they're supposed to be here of 7:55 for the teacher to report. I don't know if that's ever happened here, but I know that it's happened before where teacher didn't show up to work, and at the high school level, the kids don't say anything. They just stay there.
Hang out.
Be very, very quiet. Yeah. Sometimes they're better behaved that way. So anyway, I think that that's really important to have that timeline for that. We know the teachers are going to be there and they're going to be present. And if there's kiddos that need a little bit of help or support, they know that they can come in at 7:55 and touch base on a problem or two if they need help with an assignment or something. So moving on, I did want to share a little bit of information with the survey that I sent out, and I know I shared with the individuals who were taking the survey. I'm not going to share individual information. I am going to share some of the graph information that's interesting. It's and this really makes me think that for schools, not having school in the summertime is a great opportunity. So teachers can step back, they can work on doing what they do better. And something else that they can do is if they've had challenges with a student, it's time to start over. So it's time to start new. And I think with my position changing, this is a really good time for us to step back, to let the water under the bridge be the water under the bridge, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to do the best we can to create a learning environment for kids that's just really positive and where they can be successful. And so I'm just going to encourage everybody to kind of think along those lines. I know in a conversation with Bobby, I really, and I think maybe you misspoke and then you corrected yourself, but I think it was really cool. Let's go forward from here. Let's grow forward from here. I think that that's just a good mentality to have. Something that I heard in a training not too long ago, and especially you see this in the elementary classrooms. When you start off, you go slow to go fast. And so that kind of is contradictory, but you really teach those procedures with the kiddos. You spend days to start off with teaching students, okay, how do you ask to go to the restroom? How do you walk down the hallway to go to the restroom? How do we go to lunch? How do we go to recess? How do we sharpen our pencil? Just some of those procedural things. If you put the work in up front on those, things go really well 3-6 months later. And so I would just ask you to think about that a little bit. Something else to think about is just because you're moving doesn't mean you're moving forward. And so sometimes I think we get a little bit hectic and we're crazy trying to do all these different things, and that doesn't necessarily mean we're making progress. So anyway, it was interesting with the survey, and I've done a number of surveys, and hopefully I'm getting better at going through the information and really trying to get an overall picture. You know, we're talking about individuals' opinions, and so there's a lot of different opinions, but
This was sent to the faculty? Is that
this was sent to the entire staff, so licensed staff and classified staff as well.
Gotcha.
And we had a good response with a lot of thought put into the responses, and I really appreciate that. Something with the areas within the strategic plan, the area needing the most immediate attention, half the respondents said the positive school culture that will engage students. And so I thought that was, and I think that most surveys, you could survey almost any school and it would be heavy in that area, because that is really something that we have to work on, being in the people business. It's really important. So the one needing the least immediate attention was kind of split between three areas. So the meaningful academic experience, the provide and maintain quality instruction, and recruit and retain quality teachers. And so one of the things that I noticed is what's not here, and nobody really selected the one about the culture to be the least important. And so I think that says quite a bit about maybe where we need to kind of take a look at and see what we can do to improve in our school district. Just a few common threads that I wanted to mention. What would be valuable to understand about the community if you were the incoming superintendent? I heard community support numerous times throughout the survey, which is very, very positive. I also heard that poverty is a factor in the district. Change is difficult. The change is difficult everywhere. And I heard something else over and over was that everybody has positive intentions. We all come to this table as a board. We come to the school building with positive intentions, but our values don't always align, and so that's something that's important to keep in mind as we talk about different things, and to respect others' values, and to be able to disagree, and to be able to keep moving forward. So understand about the staff. Staff wants to be listened to. The staff is caring. Improving communication is something that I heard numerous times. Improving accountability is something that I heard numerous times. Being respectful, valuing the work that's been done on MTSS, and then the need to follow through and keep that process going to keep impacting kids. And something that was said a number of different times, but one individual said these words: "We are a team, but we need to be more of a team." And I thought that's probably very true. And what would they recommend me knowing about the students? They need accountability. There's home life challenges, behavior. We need firm expectations. And bottom line is we have great kids. And I heard that over and over. And that touched my heart, just because I know that I read a lot of responses that showed how much people care about the kids. And that's what we want, number one. So perceptions of areas of strength, staff's dedicated, community support, we heard that before. Classroom resources was listed a number of times as a strength, which I would say is kind of unusual for a school district. Most of the time you see what you don't have and what you want. So that is something that was real positive. Students were listed as a strength. MTSS, the opportunities for college classes and extracurricular offerings was something else that was a strength. 3 areas that need improvement. Communication was probably the number one item listed. Some adult cell phone usage in the building was listed a number of times. Bullying, a need for monthly staff meetings. I think that goes back to communication. There's a desire for communication, and desire to be able to ask questions, to problem solve together as a staff. And then classroom rigor and expectations is something that was listed as an area to improve. Finally, a lot of very kind words about the school, and an expression of people really caring for this school. And I think that is something that's just really, really positive. Any questions for me? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any board committee reports? No, we usually talk about policies.
Mhm.
That's, so I don't know that any other committees met over the past month. Building and grounds, you've kind of talked about the different things that are needed there that we can meet there. So we can go on to policies. Now, if you want to go ahead and.
It's like a long one.
Know if we want to make a motion and then discuss, or if you want us to kind of go through some of those now.
On 5003, with it needing further work with how it's written, can we still approve it that way?
Let's see, let me go back to. So. Trying to remember why I put that in there that way.
Is that one that we're waiting for the.
Oh, is in it, I wonder if that's not one that's in the supplemental as an update. Uh, So that is one, I think that's why.
Mine goes from 01 to 15.
So that was one that I hadn't had an opportunity to visit much with Derek about, that includes information about extracurricular sports and activities, and maybe your committee addressed that. Did you guys try to select an option?
I don't think we necessarily decided.
I think that was the part that I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, I don't remember that we actually decided on one or the other option.
Yeah, we didn't discuss it between.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so,
It wasn't on the version. I don't remember.
I didn't read that.
oh, it wasn't in the
even
original group?
Yeah.
Link. for
Oh,
us to
okay.
review.
Okay,
So, leave that one off.
okay, I think that sounds like a good idea. I would like to have more conversations about Nebraska School Activity Association, what their guidelines are, to better understand that. And I do know that, well, I think part of the new law is that this has to be in place. So homeschool kids, for example, have to have an opportunity to compete in activities at our school. It's the procedures that we have in place that help guide that this policy addresses.
So do we have to pass it prior to school starting?
I don't think so. I'm not aware of any at this time. Any students, I do know of a situation in the community that does bring up the possibility, but I think that's down the road a ways. Are there any individuals this would impact, Derek, in the next month? Okay, so we could table this to August and not have an issue with it. Okay.
I will make some motion then so we can discuss. To consider or to accept the policy committee's recommendations for policy review update as presented to the KSB annual policy recommendations for July of 2025 for policy number 1002, 2006, 2008, 3003, 3004, 3023, 3026, 3036, 3043, 3047, 3057, 4051, 4057, 4059, 5001, 5002, 5015, 5016, 5018, 5031. Consider the supplemental of 5031, 6025, 60-31, 60-34, 60-44, and 60-45.
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion? I guess we could go into a little bit further detail just because there were so many. Some of them I think were just state statute that had passed it. Per law, we have to accept and change the as it is. I know that there was some concerning dress code. As far as our policy has to state, but our hand can provide a little bit more. More detail boundaries, that type of stuff. I think of other ones. With the new laws, the cell phone policy, that was accepted as far as the handbook states kids can have it before school lunch, and then after school. Any other ones? Any questions or comments?
There was a lot of guns.
Well, I want to thank the committee. You went through a lot. You went to a lot of work to do a good job of being thorough and making sure that you address these issues or we're familiar with them.
Yes, do you guys have any questions?
I don't.
Yes, we will go ahead and vote. Hope,
Yes.
Julia, yes. Mark,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Bobby, yes. Motion passes to accept the policy's recommendations for policy reviews and updates.
And is that with the exception 5003 will be tabled and then 5031
Do we,
is also
do
tabled?
we need to table 5003?
I think it would add clarity.
In the 50-31.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
we
I
should.
can amend my motion to include to table 5003 for next month for further consideration along with the supplemental 50-31.
Thank you.
Second. I don't know, what do you say?
Yeah, any other discussion? No, okay, we'll go ahead and vote. Julia, Mark,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Bobby, yes, Hope,
Yes.
motion passes. We will go on to new business. A, considering offering cheerleading as an extracurricular opportunity for the 2025-2026 school year.
I know that Derek had provided some additional information. Last month, there was some information provided. And you've had additional conversations, right, Derek, about how part of the conversation that where we've included Pawnee Education Association and what a supplemental would look like. And we've been talking about 6.5% as a supplemental rate for that position to start with. What else would you have, Derek, to share?
I just, in the packet, this document was just a summary of what we discussed last time. Here towards the end, and I found it, it's the second to last page, but it has this table on it. This was what Ann and I had discussed after reviewing the array for our school. So the 6.5 to 7.9 is an average number based on, there's obviously a range in some of these schools. There were a variety of other factors that were at play, like say Freeman as an example, their head cheer coach makes 10%. Well, their head football, volleyball, basketball make 15, and ours is 10. So there were a variety of factors that we looked at to try to make sure that we were in or doing our due diligence to make an appropriate choice. I've spoken with Jess Colo since then as someone that we think is critical to the implementation of this. She had no problems with this. She said, you know, don't want to do it for the money. So I don't anticipate this to cause any problems. One other thing that came up in here is I also found out that a number of these schools, I think 4 of them, don't even have an assistant cheer coach. So I found that to be interesting, just based on the amount of time that can be involved if you have a fully immersive cheer program. So there isn't anything that's changed since then. I guess I just direct you back to the survey data that we got from the students, which essentially indicated that we had 10 to 12 students based on the survey and based on conversations. We had 10 to 12 students that expressed some level of interest. And remember, all of those students were grades in this last year, grades 6 through 10. So some of them would still be too young for high school cheerleading.
Do you know approximately how many would be currently in like this first year in
Yeah.
school?
I can look to confirm, but I'm pretty sure hope it was 5.
Okay.
So
Do we have plans for an assistant?
we have,
Not,
yes,
I'm just.
yes, short
yes or
answer,
no?
yes.
Okay.
Now I think just like everything else with this, we need to start with what we think is appropriate and then assess if more is needed or not. So at this point, based on what I found out, I don't think it would be appropriate to start with an assistant in place. However, we do have interested staff and we do have the ability to add that later if that would be something that could be approved. So
But I think when Jess was here, she was saying that no away games, maybe the first year at least.
Yeah.
Just concentrate on home games.
yeah, we felt like that was probably an appropriate place to start, would be varsity home contests in the first year. And that's another reason why I think the compensation is probably more appropriate at this level too. If we are going to implement some sort of a tiered approach, then starting with this lower number would be more appropriate. So the first year would be varsity home contests. And then after that, looking to expand to certain away contests. And really, those decisions, I think, would be based on the number of students that we have in the cheerleading program and their ability to attend those. Obviously, we need to make sure that we're making decisions equitably for all programs. Then there would be an interest to provide some sort of junior high cheer option because we know we have kids that are interested. So those would all be steps that could be taken in the future.
Was the, I'm sorry,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Was the director position like open to staff, or how did that kind of?
It wasn't, and initially, I could say with a pretty high degree of confidence that there is not interested staff in it. However, we've had discussions since Mr. Evans started, and about how we'd like to make sure that anytime, just like with this, the fitness center cleaning or custodial positions, anytime there is an open position, we want to make sure that we're making it available to staff. So right now we've got assistant track and assistant play production for this next year that came open. And so I sent those out to all staff. I feel like that would be backtracking at this point. I feel like she's a very capable and qualified person. And I think we'd be taking a step back to potentially consider somebody else at this point. But I definitely would do that if we were to open it to an assistant position, or if we were to look for a change if we needed to in that head coaching position.
I don't think you're gonna find a more qualified person that's done collegiate cheer herself,
Yeah.
in our area to
And I admit I'm very
head up
unlike
something like this. I think we're pretty lucky to have somebody. Like that's all.
Find me for funding. They said like fundraising and then
Yeah, so the initial expense of the uniform and the supplies was actually much less than I expected, but I had set aside money in the activity fund for that in case this was to pass. But then the expectation ongoing would be that the cheer program would self-sustain, so they would do fundraising for any needs that they have. The annual cost of the school will be the staff, so head coach, assistant coach, and then any certification related to that. But that's a pretty minor expense that most of that we're already doing for other coaches. So
So say that they can't get enough fundraising, like even moving forward,
Mhm.
how will that look?
It would be just like any other program right now. So if a coach comes to me and has a need, but they don't have the funds, obviously the first thing we discuss is if that's a necessary expense or not. And then if it is a necessary expense to continue the program or to provide the necessary supplies for the students, then that's something that's purchased then through the activity fund. So the way that I manage that is major expenses are scheduled on a rotating basis, like uniforms. So we do that on a rotating basis. There are those that I've been less familiar with, say, like reconditioning football helmets. That's a good example. Like Scott came to me this last year and said, "Hey, just heads up, we have a lot of them that are going to need it this next year because that's a big expense." So we can't plan for all of them. So I plan the major ones that I can on a schedule. Obviously, set aside a certain amount for things that come up in the year, and then through any fundraising that I've done or any donations that are made to the side a discretionary account in case there's things like that come up. So to answer your question, that was a lot more detail than you bring in. But to answer your question, if it's a necessary expense, then the activity department would cover that.
Okay, so when you say uniforms, is because like they're gonna need, if they're gonna do football games and basketball games, that's two different
Yeah.
climates.
Gear.
Like, are you gonna have cold weather gear and regular gear, pom-poms?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of equipment that goes for cheerleaders. Are they gonna have matching shoes or
Yeah.
like,
So yes. Yes. I was just thinking, I can't believe I know this much about cheerleaders. But yes, shoes, uniforms, cold weather gear like jackets and whatever bottoms they might need. That's the stuff that I thought was going to be really expensive. I thought we were looking at probably $600 to $800 per student. Then after looking at stuff with Jess through suppliers, I was just looking at brand name stuff online, but through suppliers that we know other schools are using as well, it's like half of that. So it's much more manageable than we thought, especially given the number of students that might be involved. So,
One of the things with cheerleading that's a little bit different than your athletic teams, and when you put them on a rotation, you buy new football jerseys once every 6 years. I don't know, something like that. Cheerleaders don't want somebody else's clothes. I mean, they typically they want to pick out a different outfit every year. So they want their main outfit, something that they vote on as a team, and so so it is a lot different. And so when you talk about fundraising, to me, that's what that is fundraising to be able to have the choice to do those things. Otherwise, the school's going to pick the uniform. And
the
then
next level of uniform.
every so many years they have to, so and they don't get to keep them. I don't know if you've ever seen, have you ever had a cheerleader day where they've worn cheerleader outfits from the 60s and 70s and 80s just for fun? They have their cheerleader outfits and they kept them. So anyway, it is very different in that way. And I don't know. I think that if that's what they want, if they want that their own uniform that they keep, that they get to select, I think that goes with the fundraising of, okay, if that's what you're wanting, then you're willing to put in the time to generate the funds.
That's exactly right. That's very much in line with how we've approached this with other programs too. If they have kids that go kind of above the base uniform.
Right.
Is that the anticipation that they're their uniforms or that they're the schools?
Yeah, and that would be the expectation, and we do approach others like that too. Like football is one example. We started getting our jerseys through Velocity Athletics a few years ago, and they're a little bit. They still last, but they're much less expensive. And so we buy these jerseys and then we buy them, but seniors can purchase them on their way out. And there's that way, or there's the approach where they would just buy them initially. And I think with this program specifically, we would go that way, where they would buy them initially. They would be their property, not the school's property that they could later purchase.
Okay, so what do you do when you have a member that can't afford to purchase it?
That's where the fundraising is critical. Now, that's why I have set aside funds that I've raised or that there's been donated, so there's not taxpayer funded.
Mhm.
But that's why I set aside some there too, is always for that situation. Because we know, like we've had these conversations before, we never want, money to be a barrier for a kid and an opportunity. So
So-
Like required to. dresses and stuff.
So the way I'm understanding it is fundraising is mostly for their equipment and their uniforms. So what about like competitions when they finally get to that point?
yeah,
Is that,
if they get to that point, then competitions that are close, that could be
because you're gonna have camps
transportation
and
or-
competitions
Right.
and, I mean,
Right.
lots of training. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of an expense with
I agree.
traveling and lodging and.
I agree. And that's where I admit, hope I'm out of my depth. Like I don't know the differences between the options at that point. But in talking to people as we've tried to get information for this, I feel like if we do get to that point where we have enough interested students to participate as a team, to compete as a team, that we're probably going to have support for those kids as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
So
Just a question here, does the school pay for like basketball camps and stuff like that for kids?
no,
I never
so
did.
yeah.
I went to a camp, it was whether I could afford to go to a camp. It wasn't the school that paid for me to go to a camp. Now we may have,
no,
we may have all rode together in a bus or something, coordinated with the school to get there or something.
yeah, and that's where the school.
Most of it is-
But to me, competitions kind of falls into that same,
But you said
that's-
camps.
right. The same realm. I mean, yes, it's nice to have that experience and that exposure, but at the same time, cheerleading is really to support your teams. You don't really have to go to competitions. So I think that's where I'm combining them together.
Sure. Something else that's a little bit different with cheerleading too, on that note, is that it's not a sanctioned activity. It's not a sanctioned sport, an NSAA sanctioned competition. So those competitions are happening outside, more like a club. So
This should
Right.
also be something down the road too.
yeah,
See if the program.
And I know that
They
when
had any kind of-
when
Right,
we
but you still
discussed-
gotta take it into consideration.
Yeah, when we discussed this, we had a year 4 and beyond potential competition at the state level.
Mhm.
And then before that, entering more local regional cheer competitions. Those are ones that I view in similar lights to, say, basketball camps or summer leagues, where the school's still providing transportation, the school's still
Right.
providing the sponsor. So
Okay,
then just like we would for basketball or volleyball, if kids are going to that, either the kids are paying the entrance fee or the program is paying the entrance fee. So now, if I haven't had this happen yet, where a coach comes to me and asks, they don't have enough money in their account to pay for the entrance fee. If that were the case, that's where, again, I would probably look at some of that discretionary. That's why I always want to keep trying to build that.
I have another question. I got quite a
Yeah,
few
sure.
actually.
I hope I have answers. I'll answer as many as I can. Yeah.
So this will take in kids from that are possibly involved in other activities. Have you guys discussed like practices and working around their, like, I mean, you're gonna have kids that are in one act and kids that are also in, I mean, they're already juggling a lot of things. Have you guys thought about that?
Definitely. And, I could say most decisions, obviously, you don't think back to when you were a kid, you don't really have
Mhm.
perspective or experience. But as a student here, I obviously have that unique perspective, and there was cheerleading then, and I saw people balance the multiple programs at once. We see that in neighboring schools, and I've talked to Jess about that really early on in this, because I wanted to know what her approach would be. Obviously, if I have somebody that is going come in and really butt heads with other coaches for time, that was probably not going to work very well. So, and that's something I've really appreciated about her, is her take on cheerleading is that cheerleaders are supposed to be kind of the help and support in the school. And so instead of trying to take kids away from practice for another program, they should be working around those.
Sure.
And so,
And location, I'm assuming you've already thought about that.
yeah, location, obviously with one gym, we're limited, but we do have access to Table Rock, and we also discussed how the cafeteria can be used on occasion, depending on
Sure.
what, or the auditorium, depending on what the actual need is at the time.
Speaking of dress code, my other concern would be, by no means do I think they have to wear ankle-length skirts, but cheerleading could be a way that skirts might end up getting a little too short, or midriff tops, just to be cognizant that they're representing our school and that we need to keep an eye on that also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I'm sure
Glad you
you
bring that up.
have, but
Yeah, and dress code is something that we have yet to talk a little bit more about after changes have kind of come down
Right.
this year. Last year, if you remember, was when we discussed, or no, it's been 2 years now, where we discussed dress code and we made the change where we kind of simplified that line here in the 3-inch inseam line as our dress code. Now, obviously, we would want any school issued uniform to be appropriate and meet dress code. And I do think, after having conversations with Jess about this topic too, I do think we're on the same page. So I'm glad to bring that up, though. That's an important consideration.
I'm sure you would. It just seems like cheerleading would be one that would be a little more on the difficult side sometimes to.
And I'm assuming there won't be tryouts. It's just whoever wants to.
Yeah, there is one thing labeled tryouts in here, but that's basically like assessing.
I
skill, like
figured
it's
that
an
was
opportunity
what that meant.
yeah.
Okay.
And open to both male and female.
Yeah.
Have you guys considered starting with just a pep club by chance?
We discussed it. Yeah, I even got I mean, some of the feedback from kids in here was if they'd be interested in being involved. To be honest, that was a decision that I made after reviewing all this. Felt like that was like dipping our toe in, and really a lot of what we want to teach kids is like grit and resilience and learning to be confident and really going for it when you have a goal. And I didn't want to try to half measure.
Sure.
If we thought we could responsibly implement something that would accomplish the goal. So I could end up being wrong, but I felt like this was a more appropriate path. I have already talked with Jess and some of the students that filled out the survey that said they'd be interested in student section leadership, though, as to how the two could work together to maybe encourage more students to be at the games and be involved. And I think the cheerleaders can help with that. Right now, if we have students that are coming, which sometimes we do have great student sections, sometimes there's 3, but sometimes, sometimes there is a good selection of students there. And really, it's kind of whatever they feel like in the moment, which can be a great thing. And sometimes it's not so great. So
Sure.
I feel like the working relationship with the two, though, could actually be a very positive thing. So it's a good question.
Jess had kind of talked about, doing posters and locker posters and that type of stuff. Obviously, that costs money as well.
Yeah, those are things we're already doing, though, also.
The booster.
Yeah, yeah. So whether it's booster funded or, I mean, some of the things like the posters, locker tags, I mean, the expense is very minimum.
Right.
But when we add a treat to that or whatever, then it's typically coming from the boosters.
So they would start this fall with, football, volleyball, and cheer squad. I guess, how is that going to be funded? Because they haven't had any time to fundraise or anything like that. So is that going to come out of the activities?
When I talked to Jess, she felt like the amount they would need would be very minimal, less than what I expected. So that's also money that I have planned for already. I don't think it's going to take very much. But to add on to that, it would be things like the run through with the football games. So really, we only have done that at homecoming or on some special occasions. But things like that are really nice for the kids. And it'd be nice to have one group to point to that is taking care of those things. So it's more than just posters and locker tags too, so that the cost could be more than what we'd expect. But I still believe it to be minimal.
My last question.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I promise. I think it's great. Jess is gonna do this. What happens if you said you don't really have any interest? What happens if something comes up she can't or she doesn't feel she wants to do it anymore.
Agreed.
Do we?
That was a huge
Cause
concern.
that was one of my concerns with our wrestling program, and then we kind of ran into that sooner than we had planned, so
Yeah.
that's a concern.
Agreed, absolutely agreed. That was probably,
Cause this isn't something you can just,
yeah,
oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
right. Have knowledge.
yes, and so I agree, that was probably my biggest concern of this whole situation, because identifying Jess and her interest, that kind of happened seamlessly. And honestly, the funding aspect, I think that it is a very justifiable use of funds. So that wasn't a big concern of mine either. The concern was sustainability. And so that's why I think it's so important that we had to have one staff member who was interested in being an assistant coach that could also fill in currently. And
And
I
learn
think, yeah,
at the same
exactly. It would be somebody that could be a whatever the word is, next in line if we do need to
I
transition.
can't think of a word.
Yeah, I think that's there somewhere.
Thanks
That's a real, that's
for
a good question.
answering all my,
I hope I did.
you did great.
Thanks for not being a cheerleader. Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Any other discussion or questions?
We didn't get a motion on this yet, right? Okay.
Did it? Okay, just-
No motion on this. Wait,
We can,
Yeah,
I guess.
I should have also mentioned something too. I had just had a previous clinic. She asked me if she should change that and come to the meeting tonight. I told her it was probably okay that she didn't have anything last time, and that I could probably answer questions tonight.
That's fine.
But I just got thinking now I didn't want to be says lack of interest, so I gave her permission that it's not present.
do we need a motion to discuss?
Technically, yes, but we feel like we already discussed, but we can, yeah.
I'll make a motion, for us offering a cheerleading and extracurricular opportunity for the 2025-26 school year.
Second.
Our motions and a second, do we have any further discussion?
Hold on, I think you pretty much covered everything.
You said we've had plenty of interest for an assistant. But are we,
Have interest for an assistant. I have one person that is
interest.
one has experience. Would step in and do it. I can't say that there's interest outside of that.
for that?
If we implement an assistant, we would need to. Now, currently in the negotiated agreement, there's not an item for cheerleading, obviously, or assistant. Item in the negotiated agreement, but what we're saying at this point was the 6.5% for head coach and no assistant.
And Jess is aware of that and she is okay with it.
Okay, I just confirmed that with her today.
I guess, is she good with that for the entire year, or is it going to be something that halfway through she says, wait, I can't do this, I guess, how did,
I think that the board should retain control over that situation. And I guess with administration, if there's such a demand, there's so many girls out that we feel like for supervision purposes, we need to hire somebody else. I think that we would be able to do that. I would caution against making anything beyond this one position at this time.
any other discussion?
I got some.
We will take the vote then. voting on offering cheerleading as an extracurricular opportunity for the 2025-2026 school year. Mark,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Bobby, yes, Hope,
Yes.
Julia.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item B, approve the staff handbook for the 2025-2026 school year.
So a number of items in the staff handbook, for the most part, it is the same as it was, with the exception of names in different places. I know that, a change that Derek brought to my attention that's been different than past practice, was on activity accounts. That they're handled through the superintendent's office. I think I would probably propose that if you pass this, that would also include, and superintendent's designee, because the activities account, the purchases through there, I plan on overseeing that, but technically that really should be Derek that has the immediate, supervision over those funds. And so I would say that would be, one area that would be slightly different. I think there was another item that I would propose to adjust, and that had to do with the teachers checking their mailboxes 3 times a day, I think it said. I don't think that that's realistic. I think that, once a day would suffice for that. And then, probably the biggest change in here has to do with dress code. And, I'm talking about trying to address the issue, in a different way, in, trying to communicate the expectations of professionalism, that, Derek is the principal at the secondary school, would be responsible for that. I would be responsible at the elementary school. But to talk about the expectation of us being professional without specifying some certain things. I think that we can all agree about some things that, well, nobody wants to see my midriff at school, and I don't think anybody wants to see any other adult midriff at school. That's just not something that's appropriate. So there's a number of things that are appropriate. I would say that there's some other things that it gets a little bit grayer on, when it comes to dress code. I know that, I am not great at seeing the staff first thing in the morning and checking out their dress code. That's just not something that I'm very good at. I'm usually watching how people are acting, how people are treating kids, how, I'm usually watching interactions is usually where my focus is. But I do think that we can encourage that professionalism. I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on what some of those specific things in the dress code are that, that you care about, and then to try to enforce the policy in this manner. Something in one of my conversations that's been said that I feel strongly about is that we do not need to have something in policy that we are not following. Because if we don't, it's a joke. And then we're going to pick and choose what we follow, what we don't follow. And so I want to make sure that we have something in place that is reasonable and that we can follow. And we can go on. I know the only other things I wanted to mention here was, the putting in place the 10 minutes before instructional time for teachers, is another. Some might see that as a big change. I don't think it probably will impact anybody. But really the dress code is probably the biggest issue here.
Go ahead and have a motion so we can discuss.
I'll make the motion to approve the staff handbook for the 2025-2026 school year.
I'll second it.
By Julia, do we have any discussion?
So is there a lot of change in the wording of it or just
So-
clarity?
So the previous policy, and I should have had that available to take a look at, it had on there specific things like, no piercings other than in the ears. There's a whole list of things.
No jeans, I know, except for, I think on Fridays. And it wasn't even specific to
Something,
Fridays.
yeah.
I think it was for days that the administration.
Game days.
Yeah. Game days or something like that.
Right.
I know that was one.
Even surprise for days ending the week and occasions.
Yeah, as deemed by the administration or something like that, I remember. Other than those two, I can't think of any other ones.
I think there was something about leggings
Maybe open toed
and open.
sandals.
Yeah, but I think that was for students, not.
Yeah,
So I do think that there are a difference in the job responsibilities for a teacher or a para who's with the preschool or kindergarten. I am thinking and expecting them to get down on the floor with the kids, to be doing different things. I can see how there would be some different needs for some different job responsibilities. I can see the PE teacher dressing differently than the math teacher or the English teacher. I think I have my own things that make me uncomfortable when it comes to dress code, and some of those are a little bit of my hang up, and where I'm not being objective, and others aren't. I know if I'm uncomfortable with something, it usually, and if there's a gray area, I'd probably touch base with Derek and ask him about what's acceptable and what he thinks. I would welcome you, at any time you see or hear something that would be inappropriate, to bring that to our attention, so that we know what the perception is.
I guess my thing is, I do want to trust them that they have a good judgment in, what is professional attire, and keep in mind that, every kid from the preschool to seniors is impressionable.
And seeing it.
Males and females, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. So I guess, I respect what they do, and I hope that they respect themselves to know that they're in a pretty impressionable occupation, and a very important one. And I don't want their attire to influence that as far as, education and attitudes and that kind of stuff.
I think there is a way between preschool, math teacher, PE teacher to dress appropriately for your job while still being
Mindful.
yes.
Is there any issues with dress code? Yes.
No.
So anyway,
I've dealt with, I think. The standout, this is not that many. I think I've dealt with issues with dress code. And I can say.
last year or 10
No,
years?
in my time here.
Anytime.
Yeah,
Total.
so 5 years, 6 years now. But I can say that I can't say the policy makes a lot of difference, really. The conversations when I have had to address that with them, it's more about the idea, like how they're trying to present themselves and how they're trying to represent our school and what message that's sending to kids. It's less about the specific X and O of like what this piercing was or what this shirt said, or obviously that's important information, but really I found out a way to get it to change is it's got to be about the big picture message. When I've tried to be just clear, like, hey, look, policy says this, then it seems like that's when we start splitting hairs. about what the next most minimal step is that can create or take to manage that. So I can say though, that generally speaking, that in those instances, they've been pretty receptive and they've made the change of estimate too.
So you want us to get specific tonight or think about it and, or I'm just a little bit, or just. The only thing I've seen honestly sometimes is with the leggings, I feel like there's not a shirt sometimes appropriate length with the leggings. Cause leggings sometimes can be very.
Or sometimes a little.
That's the only thing that I have maybe witnessed. That would be something for me.
My only other thing would be. I want them to be comfortable for instruction and stuff, but there are times that we have like a career day or veterans program, or. I would like to see us maybe present ourselves in a more professional, to just be mindful when those things happen. You still need to be able to be comfortable to teach your students and things like that, but be mindful that you're also your appearance is
Well, and on days like that.
what it is for when we have other people coming into our school. What do we want them to see our school represented as? Past that, I trust that our teachers,
Yeah.
we got a pretty good group.
And that if it's not, that you guys could.
Yeah, well, and that you're willing to,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's always part of your job, but to be the referee in that and being able to, because sometimes those discussions are not easy, and having them with someone, an adult is fun, but that's on you.
Yeah.
To take that off. Any other discussion? We will go ahead and vote on approving the staff handbook for the 2025-2026 school year. Hannah,
Yes.
Bobby, yes. Hope, yes. Julia,
Yes.
Yes.
motion passes. C, set breakfast and lunch prices for the 2025-2026 school year.
Okay, so this is not an item that I want to bring to you, but it's an item that I feel a responsibility to bring. And I know that was last year, your first year that you were off of Taher. And I think that if I remember what Mr. Rottingham said, you had a pretty good balance in your account. And that's part of why it was left there. I know that when I went over the information in the office that we had a loss of $37,000 last year on school lunch. And I do think it's important that I don't expect to make money off of lunch. I expect to contribute to the lunch program a little bit, but you can't do 37,000 year after year with the lunch program. And so anyway, the proposal is to come closer to what the average was with area schools in last year. And so I provided some of that information. I tried to stay around 12%, 10% increase. And I don't know what the cost of food and salaries have gone up in the last several years, but we have not increased this for some years. Seems like maybe it was 22, 23 was the last increase, maybe, and that was very minimal. The adults went up, I guess, 5 cents. Before that, for students, it was 21, 22. So the proposal would be to increase student lunches to $3.45. That's an increase of 30 cents and increase student breakfast to $2.30. That's an increase of a quarter, and then adults are increased as well. If we serve the same number of meals, that would be an increased revenue of $6,500. And that would help.
So I'm assuming the unpaid 37 is just people unable to or not.
No,
Okay. So what's that?
really, going over the accounts, this district has done a really good job of collecting lunch money. Compared to what I've seen in the past, I know that there were a few accounts that were in the red, and we had some donations this past year to help with lunch accounts for people who are struggling, and so that was used. There is almost no accounts in the negative right now. So yeah, it's simply the expenditure of salary and food prices versus what you're bringing in for revenue. And all your revenue isn't through family contributions, right? It's part of the free and reduced lunch program. You bring in quite a bit of revenue through that process as well. So this isn't all of it, but this would help a little bit.
I have a dumb question on the website, to go to just make online payments to this. It has you have 50 or 100 for you can put on an account. I think are the only two options whenever I paid. Is there a way that you can pay more so you don't have to
Keep doing it.
yeah, so often, the only way I get reminded, is that it's more negative. And I'm like, so I'll go in and I put the
Yeah.
max in and then
Yeah.
whatever it allows me to. I don't know, is there a way to bump that to like unlimited so I could pay for the year? And that way I didn't have to worry about it.
I don't know.
You're supposed, when you're trying to pull that how much you're supposed to be able to customize your amount. I don't really want to pay for my kids. I did predetermined amount, whatever I choose in excess, so it's paid out for a while.
Well, I swear whenever I got into that, it was like a 50 or it gave me an option of a 50 or $100, I think there. So maybe it's just me not putting enough time into it. I should have dug deeper into it, but I'd rather just pay a lump sum upfront, and that way I don't have to get an email later, once a month that I'm behind.
Yeah.
I'll get it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We started it shortly after you, because I know we had it when Jason was in school, but this is a new one. I haven't used the new one because when I got on to do it, the fees had gone way high, so I just wrote a check.
Yeah.
It's a balance. We see a lot of people that still write checks and quite a few people that less it, but whenever I ask people that write a check, it's almost always.
Yeah, it was like,
You can't
it was
separate it.
astronomically different. Like, it was a huge jump.
Yeah. Julie, this is just that for convenience. but
Sure.
Of course, too. So these.
And this increase doesn't have anything to do with like those that are getting reduced lunches and their costs won't.
No, that's set by the state and the feds.
A motion.
I don't like having to do it, but I understand the reason why. So I will make a motion to set the breakfast and lunch prices for the 2025-2026 school year as presented.
Second.
Motion by Hannah, second by Julia. Any further discussion? Okay. Go ahead and vote. Bobby, yes. Hope,
Yes,
Julia,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Motion carries. D, set budget hearing date for 6 p.m. on Wednesday, August 27th, 2025.
I will make the motion to set the budget hearing date for Wednesday, August 27th, 2025 at 6 p.m.
We have a second.
Second.
Motion by Hope, second by Hannah. Any discussion?
I haven't been to one of these yet. What's all involved in it? I'm new, I'm sorry. What's the procedure to that? Just
So, well, I think part of it
sure
is
if I have to do
to,
some homework, I do. All right, yeah, show up there.
so you will, the information would be provided to you. I think we have to publish in the paper, the information for the hearing so that it's transparent. Um, I would anticipate there being, a slight increase in the levy, for next year. And then we provide information about it, take a look at why that is, where the money would be going, and then anybody that wishes to address the board to speak to it is welcome to.
Gotcha.
So is it classified as like a special meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would the public comment then, would that be before we have the meeting type of scenario type of thing?
I don't-
It's opened up during the hearing. It's basically so the public can ask questions and
Gotcha.
talk about the budget, basically.
Okay. Just curious.
We used to do it all in one, but there was a law that was passed that we have to now split it up to
Gotcha.
two different.
And with that, I did not put, and I'm not thinking of the right terminology, for the other one to set the levy, I think is the other hearing that has to happen. And I was tentatively planning on doing that in conjunction with the September meeting. So
Okay.
we don't have a separate meeting night is what I was thinking.
Okay.
So, just so you know about that piece of it as well.
That's the
Couple
tax
years.
request.
Yes. And we
Mhm.
haven't done them on separate nights.
Yes,
Correct.
we usually did it one night for the budget, one night for the tax request, and then our regular board
And we
meeting.
could plan on that.
If it's not necessary, I think it's great to be able to do it. at the
That's
same
kind of what
night.
I think. If we can do it in one meeting night,
100%.
Yeah,
so
Knock it all up, same night. No way.
I think the budget hearing has to be separate.
It does,
Yeah.
yes.
Any further discussion?
No.
So motion to set the budget hearing date for 6 p.m. on Wednesday, August 27th, 2025. Hope,
Yes,
Julia, Chris, Mark,
Yes.
Hannah.
yes,
Motion passes. Board superintendent working relationship.
So, I don't think we talk enough about our relationships in general. I know my wife and I don't talk enough about our relationship, so I think it's always a good idea to talk about these things and have it in the open and be willing to bring up things. If things aren't working, bring it up. If a form of communication or something, that is happening, we're better off talking about it early on than waiting until it festers and gets really bad later on. So, so that's part of what I just wanted to visit a little bit about, some things. I know that, one of the things that I will need help with is knowing, if things are being said in the community. It's important that I know it, and in relationship to the school, and maybe that ties in a dress code. If there's something going on, it's important for me to know what that is, and for you to keep me informed. It's my responsibility to keep you informed of what's going on in the school, and I won't sugarcoat anything. That's just not the way. I don't think that that's a good way to do it. It's important that things the way I see it. Of course, I have a filter, so there will be a filter, but I think that that's just really important to be as open and honest about some things, even when those things aren't positive. It's a part of us in our working relationship that's really important. Are you comfortable with me emailing information like the end of the week? Is that a good? Okay,
Sure.
Does that work?
Sure.
Okay.
yeah.
I sent a written note with my comments on the board agenda to you, that was just for you. Is that something that you like? Would you rather have a video recording of information?
I'll take
Okay.
whatever's easiest for you.
Okay, okay. So,
Rather do a video and.
uh, so. So this past meeting, it was relatively easy, to make brief comments on agenda items for you. Uh, what's needed is a long explanation. It's going to take me, an hour and a half to write it. It would be easier for me to do a video recording, but
Or voice memo or something.
yeah,
Whatever.
so I think, so why don't we continue with what we've been doing? And see how that goes. If something gets to be more involved, I might want to do something a little bit more in depth. That,
Yeah, I'm good either way. Whatever's convenient for you.
okay,
So
okay.
whatever makes it easy for you.
Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. I know, depending on what I'm doing away from the board meeting, if I was a board member, if I'm in my vehicle a lot, to listen to something would be more time effective than for me to spend the time to read something that's lengthy. So anyway, let me know if you have additional thoughts on that. So individual board members, there might be occasions where you want me to do some research on something, and which I welcome. It's something that's part of why I'm here. That can go overboard if I'm spending a lot of time on one board member's request. I will try to provide it to everybody. If I do some research on something, I'll say somebody else asked for this. I'm sharing this with the entire board. It's just one of those things to be cognizant of the amount of time, the amount of flexible time as an administrator is minimal. And so what it takes to run the district, what it takes to do everything. And so as you look at the time you have in addition to work on individual projects, it's pretty minimal. And so I want to be just very smart about using that time wisely. And so that's kind of why I bring that up. I would ask that you avoid bypassing the superintendent to get information. The right way to do it is to go through the superintendent. And there may be situations where Derek has knowledge of a situation and you want information, carbon copy me. If you email him, just include me in that so that I know that that's something that's a concern or that you're asking for additional information. Let's see. I kind of covered this information. Are there times that the superintendent and the board president, only the two of them will know about an issue? I don't think that that's going to happen much. I know that I called Jason up when we were talking about changing the start time of school for the elementary building. I hadn't talked to any of the staff members. It's going to come as a surprise to them. And so I called Jason up and said, hey, can you talk through this with me? So I did visit with him about that situation before I came to the board. I kind of think that that's a little bit of his role as the board president. So I will not do that very often. One of the things that I would say promise, but I make mistakes. I will do everything I can to avoid springing a surprise on you, like having you come to a board meeting and me dropping some bomb on you that you're not prepared for. So I will really work on not doing that. I've been fairly successful at that. Not always, though. I know a board member told me at one time, remember your agreement? And follow it tonight because you didn't tell us about this and we came here and I said, that's fair. That's right. So anyway, and then I ask you for the same consideration. If you have something and you want to bring it up at a board meeting, that's fine. Give me some heads up. A lot of times I want to research it a little bit or or something. So if you would give me a heads up on things, I appreciate it. Um, uh, so, and I don't know how you do this as a board member. Maybe some of you over the years have developed a good strategy. How do you handle complaints? I mean, I think a lot of times as a board member, that is part of your role, is to listen to the community. That's got to be a hard thing to deal with. And other than saying, you really need to go talk to Mr. Evans, you really need to talk to Mr. Ness, you really need to talk to the classroom teacher if you've got a problem with him or her. Go direct to the source. Try to keep it at the lowest chain of command you can. I don't, other than that, I don't have any great tips for you on how you handle those concerns that come to you. Any tips? Hope, I think you've got the most longevity here, don't you?
I guess tonight, well, actually, Jason and I are about even anyway. I don't know, I usually suggest chain of command and once in a great while, depending on what it is, that, you know, sometimes they just have questions.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, well, I'll look into
Yeah.
who I need to refer you to
Yeah.
or.
Yeah, yeah, and then get back to them.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know that it's difficult, and I've been in this business long enough to know that there are two sides to every story. I mean, you will hear something that is outrageous, and and if you're like me, you'll get mad, right away. I know if I hear of something where one of our employees did something that was unkind, I get pretty emotional about that, and so I always have to that in check because there's another side to the story. So I would just ask that you keep that in mind.
I was recently in a different board meeting for something else, but I was on the other side of listening to a superintendent from a different school and their athletic director were really on the same page, and it was against they're wanting to build um the board that I was for a service basically, and we didn't agree with that type of thing. And one of the board members was like, I'm going to call the board member for that school, and I was just thinking the whole time, I'm like, I didn't even stop him though. I'm like, go ahead, and he came back with no information basically, so they'll have to look into it and stuff. But I sitting on this board as well, I think knew exactly where that was going, like
Yeah. Mhm. I think um, this is kind of an important area just to keep in mind. Um, it seems like it's black and white. The board's responsibilities policy and the administration's responsibility is the implementation of that policy, but it's never that easy. It just never is. And so anyway, I would just mention that I know that there's a lot of gray area there, and the best way to handle those things is to have a face-to-face conversation with somebody and try to talk it through. And I think that's it. So that's all I have. Do you have anything for me? Uh, I know I don't like being wrong. I don't like making mistakes, but I do. And I do ask that you be open about communicating with me if there's something that I'm doing that is not what it should be.
absolutely.
Okay.
I appreciate your transparency with that stuff too.
Thanks.
And I think we all understand you have a lot going on right now, so
Yeah.
if not from us at all, please reach out.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's all I have.
The last item on our agenda.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a second.
Right, any discussion? So Julia. Mark,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Bobby, yes, Hope,
Yes.
we are adjourned at 7:52.
I save your clips.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
I saw it.
I didn't open it yet.
It's for the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Let's.
There was one thing that. I think one time when you email us, I think all of us were on it and Brian would always like blind face it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's intent, on purpose.
So you're right on the money. Jason mentioned it to me.
Right.
And I know that. I don't know why I didn't buy a carbon copy of the board, but thank you for saying something.
That's okay. I just
No.
happened to see it and remembered that Brian.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Perfect. Nope.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let me just read what it says and.
It's just right at the top for me, and for some reason, it's like there's a lot more here than there usually is.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Don't be afraid. So,
Thanks.
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your night. Try to enjoy the rest of it.
Yeah.
Nice. Later.
Thank you. Well, yeah, just reach out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And,
All right.
I'll forget to ask you about the doors, but you'll me how to do that. So,
I'll,
yeah,
actually
when
make
you
this a
get
little
that.
reminder. It's really straightforward once you get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, April, so do it. So if there's other, you're like, I need to start, and you don't have time to, you can just call her and she.
We're trying to get over here. I guess I just was in its parents.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
So, anyway, I was thinking about that one.
Can't say that I also did. I didn't know he was gonna be.